time, my job is to introduce someone who's going to introduce the guest speaker. She's a lovely young woman from New York City, an upcoming advocate. And she's the founder of Magnet, the media advocates giving national equality to transsexual and transgender people. And it's an anti-defamation group that works for the transgender community. I'd like to introduce Ashley Love.
Thank you. Let's give it up for the music guest we had tonight, one more time. It is definitely an honor for me to introduce a hero of mine, actually, Amanda Simpson. And I've actually got to meet her a few times and spend some time with her. She's actually a very lovely person. But before I introduce her, I just wanted to say why the Transgender Day of Remembrance means so much to me. Many years ago, when my family didn't understand about my birth condition, I was basically disowned, and I found myself very vulnerable, and I found myself in Los Angeles. And it was a very challenging time for me, and I found myself in the trans community in Los Angeles. And over the next 12 years, I had 7 trans women of color, friends of mine, who died. They were all before the age of 35. One of them was killed in a hate crime. 2 of them actually died from a disease. One of them died from a transitional healthcare related incident that she couldn't afford healthcare, so she had to do something illegal. 2 of them committed suicide. And it was, you know, every time it happened, it was just so like shattering to me, and it made me very depressed. It made me very angry, and there was just so much violence towards people who were different. And there was even many years where I was, where I resigned myself from, the community, because I was so daunted by all the, the fear and the hate. And a few years ago is when I decided that I really wanted to do something about this. I still had not released all the pain and the anger and the disappointment I had from losing those women. And so I guess what I'd like to say is that, we really do need to channel all our, sadness and our pain and our anger into channel into activism, and to channel it into giving back. And, I'm just so happy to be here, and I'm very honored to be introducing Amanda Simpson, who actually is the first openly trans woman to ever be appointed by a president. She's working for President Obama. She is the senior technical advisor to the Undersecretary of Commerce. And I remember when I was a little kid, there was no trans people in the media. All we had was RuPaul, but RuPaul's a gay male drag queen, it's not a transgender woman. And I really wish as a child that I had seen someone like Amanda Simpson in the media, working for the president, because it would have really inspired me to believe that I could be anything I want to be, instead of, settling for second best, instead of, not believing in myself. And, Amanda Simpson's also a very loving mother, and she's also a wonderful advocate for the trans community. She's always speaking at different events and volunteering and getting involved. And I just wanted to say also that, the majority of hate crimes against LGBT people are against trans women of color. You don't always see that in the media, though, and we just really need more people in the gay and lesbian establishment to really give more resources to the trans community, because we suffer the brunt of violence, and we're just more misunderstood and oppressed in society. And so I'd like to introduce this lovely woman, Amanda Simpson.
Thank you, Ashley, for that very generous introduction, and thank you, Julius and Carrie. Thank you to THE for the invitation to be here today. Thank you to our performers, their energy, their youth, their talent, Thank you, Pastor Johnson, for sharing your house with us. We appreciate the invitation. But thanks to all of you who have taken time this evening to be here to show your respect for those and to show that you care. That's very important. Because on this day, as in years past, as in cities around the world, we remember those who have lost their lives to violence because they didn't fit society's definition of gender. A list of names, abstract, faceless, but behind each name, there's a person with family and friends. I think DC knows that all too painfully. Prayers, warm thoughts, good intentions. We offer these each year. We feel shame. We ask why. Yet the list grows longer next year. Now, there's been a focus recently in the media on youths who have taken their own lives rather than live with the torment, pain, social pressure, and ridicule that they perceive as part of being gay. The media is playing this up as some new national epidemic. But we in the transgender community know this is not new.
Right.
Transgender youth have an astonishingly high attempted suicide rate. In a recent survey, 41% of those who responded had attempted suicide at some point in their lives. And that's those who survived their attempt. That's a rate 25 times the national average. Transgender and gender non-conforming people are bullied, harassed, or assaulted in school and in society at shocking rates. I know. I was there once too. I grew up in a broken home. I had a physically and emotionally abusive stepfather because I didn't match someone's expectation of what they thought a boy should be or how a boy should act. I was taunted, teased, and beat up in elementary school and in high school for being different, for not fitting in. And yes, I entertained thoughts that it would be easier to end my life. But I cared too much for those I loved to put them through such an ordeal. So I go to sleep each night and pray that it would get better. And I did what was necessary to get better. So I would ask God to please let me wake up in the morning and be a girl. To externally be who I knew I eternally was. To let others know and love the real me. But I would wake up the next morning, and it didn't get better. So I would pray harder the next night, and the following night. The loneliness and self-isolation in school didn't get better. In college, they called it hazing. It sure felt the same. Well, I was smart and fit, could run really fast and out of second-story windows, but that seemed to only make it more of a challenge to the upperclassmen to catch me and stick my head in the toilet. But I stuck it out, because I was promised a world beyond school, where it got better. You see, the name-calling and taunting seemed to easily become acceptable violence. You know, playground stuff. Well, this acceptable violence is just a very thin line from seriously injuring someone, or worse. A thin line from a name appearing on a remembrance list. My life took many turns and interesting paths before one morning when I did wake up, my prayers had finally been answered. Now, we could have a theological debate on whether this was due to divine guidance or the result of creating my own reality that led me to that morning. But it did get better. To get where I am today, I survived. Fortunately, my name did not end up on a list. I survived the dark thoughts. I survived the threats of physical harm. I survived the loss